You're listening to Ear to the Ground podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Ear to the Ground podcast with Danny, Billy and myself, Faith.
On this week's episode, we've got a new Black Panther trailer coming out, Harvey Weinstein, Blade Runner, a bit of TV and some music as well, haven't we? And then we're going to go straight into the news.
So the new Black Panther trailer came out the other day. I've only just got around to watching it, to be honest, and yeah, it looks pretty good.
Tell me more. What is Black Panther?
Black Panther comes from a fictional African nation called Wakanda, that's where all the adamantium comes from, the metal that Captain America's shield's made out of.
Can't say I'm familiar.
Well, it's
Danny?
the metal that Captain America's shield's made out of.
He said that as if it was so matter of fact.
Yeah,
you know, it's like
as
just
though
something
you
you
know.
know.
It's like a Marvel.
Yeah. It's
superhero.
Marvel's fictional metal.
Did you know?
No, I just sort of
Gathered.
guessed. Yeah, we all watched the trailer before, and it is. I think the most impressive bit of the trailer for me was
The graphics.
Martin Freeman's American accent.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's in Civil War. He's in Civil War and he does that, and it's not that great.
Bless him. I love Martin Freeman.
I do as well, but
I think I fancy him a little bit.
I don't think he can do that good of an American
No.
accent.
I
to
think
be quite
I fancy him a bit as well.
Ooh, Billy, anything you want to tell us
Okay,
about?
we all fancy Martin Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just agree on that.
Please and thank you.
But
He's just cute, isn't he?
yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
we're not
fantasising
reviewing
about-
Martin
And
Freeman.
he was good in The Office as well.
He was good in
That's
The
what he said.
Oh, was it?
Lower the tone already. Brilliant.
Sorry.
So it's the first superhero film, like Marvel Cinematic Universe film, to be fronted by a black person. So that's something.
Yeah, that's very good.
That's important. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Well, it's saying that it's going to be released next February, from before the arrival of Avengers: Infinity War on April 24th. So
Yeah, that's we've got Thor Ragnarok to go, and then
Thor, pardon you what?
the next Thor 3.
Thor 3.
Thor 3
What's
is a
it
bit of a
called?
mouthful. Though.
Thor Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. it's on
easy
the
for you
screen,
to
hey.
say.
Ragnarok, yeah.
Oh,
that's the one.
Bless you.
Yeah.
And then Black Panther, and then Infinity War.
Very nice.
There you go.
It doesn't look like my sort of a thing. I'm just going to put that out
No.
there. Too much.
You two aren't Marvel, are you?
There was about 10 seconds of just the sounds of swords hitting each other, like. Oh, it's all too noisy. I like a nice film where there's a nice love plot.
Well, maybe you would
A
like
plot.
Blade Runner 2049, which we'll talk about later. Just do your bit of news first.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So I don't really get the Marvel sort of. I just don't really get into it. I try to get into it, but I find it hard to.
If it's
give
not
it
your
a good
thing,
go.
it's not your thing,
Yeah.
is it? It's one of those.
But yeah.
One of those things. But it'll be the 16th, I want to say, 17th Marvel film
Really?
Yeah.
in the universe.
In the universe.
In the universe.
They're
Not in the
massively
universe.
successful, aren't they?
Yeah.
As well?
Not in the universe as a whole. In the
I
Marvel
don't think
universe.
I've seen. Was slight side question. Was Suicide Squad Marvel?
No, that's DC.
Right, I saw that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel no particular way about it.
Yeah.
I
Me
really
too.
didn't
Me
like
too.
it.
Other than the what was her name? Oh, what's
Margot
the girl?
Robbie.
Margot Robbie. Yeah, makes a good Halloween costume. That's all I've got to say. A little bit overdone though, innit?
Yeah. Everyone will be doing it this year.
I think everyone did it last year.
Yeah, everyone's Pennywise this year, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah,
So-
sexy Pennywise.
Sexy,
that
can
sexy Pennywise costumes are selling out across the country,
How can
across
that be
the
sexy?
world. I don't know. I've seen one. It's not that sexy. It's a sexy clown.
I went as a clown last year.
Oh, there you go.
Were
Just say you're
um,
Pennywise.
No, I was good.
Were you a sexy clown? Or
I mean, that's a
Nice.
given, isn't it, really? I was
Yeah.
a clown, and I was me.
Yeah.
You're always a clown.
Okay,
Anyway.
moving on.
The next bit of news.
This is a less trivial topic, I feel.
Yeah.
So it's been in the news quite a lot recently. The accusations made against Hollywood director Harvey Weinstein or Weinstein. So I think Cara Delevingne was the first person to speak out about this. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I believe so. And then like loads of people have come out now, haven't they, and said that awful things have kept been happening. Where
he kind of forces women into very uncomfortable situations where they feel like, he basically abuses his power as a director and as someone who's quite well known in the film industry.
Yeah.
Sort of playing upon this role of power against young actresses.
Yeah. I think he was basically saying, "I'll give you the job if you do this."
Fill in the dots.
But and then when it first came out, I was at home, so I had like the telly on, and there was obviously a big like furore over it, and they were saying that his entourage were all in on it, and they'd end up like getting a young girl back to the hotel room, and then they'd all sort of peel off, and then they'd all need to do something, and then he would just go to the bathroom and come back like fully like in a bathrobe or whatever, naked, and then just sort of proposition them, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? Like
that's so strange.
Yeah,
it angers me a lot.
I know.
Yeah. Ben Affleck came under scrutiny last week, didn't he? Because I think he tweeted something like saying that he was sorry for all the victims and things, and then one of the victims like tweeted him being like, "You knew, and you said something to me implying that you knew."
Yeah.
So that all came out.
I think I read something today actually, which I think I sort of really agree with it. It was like because there's been the hashtag Me Too sort of thing, so women are sort of speaking up about it, aren't they? Yeah. And it was this journalist said that that's not the message. It should be that
it should
people should begin to listen to the women, because the women there must have been like stories of everyone seemed to have known in Hollywood, didn't they?
Yeah.
So you can't just keep just dismissing women when they are saying, "Oh, this because of this guy."
I don't necessarily think they're being dismissed, but they don't feel like they can speak out about it, because especially in Hollywood, it's been said quite a few times. Especially when it's such an influential
person. That's probably why everybody's saying it now, because one person's spoken out, so
that's always the way, isn't it? Like,
they know it's not going to ruin their career or anything.
Yeah, there is
like can speak out.
There is like a fear, especially in an industry like the film industry in Hollywood, which is like, it's been mentioned a few times, it's dominated by rich white males, and like in that situation, a woman or women are like not as well represented, so therefore you wouldn't, if you were an aspiring actress, like I know Cara Delevingne is like very famous and she's very like popular in what she does or something, but she, in terms of acting, that's one of the first things that she'd done, so she might not want to, put her position, I don't know what I'm trying to say here,
her career
on the line.
Yeah.
There might be like actresses who aren't as successful or as successful as Cara Delevingne, who wouldn't want to speak out because they're trying to make it as an actress, or they're trying to make it as a whatever, and you're the smaller force in that situation, which I think we're still not there with like men. Well, you can't group all men, but some men understanding the roles of power and abusing that. So it's sad that stuff like this is still coming out. Yeah. And I don't doubt that, unfortunately, there is probably more stories like this that will come out in the future. Yeah,
it seems like there are loads and loads and loads. On the first, I think one of the first ones in it, the girl had been to the police. It's Amber Batalana, I think, and then she recorded it on a phone as like she met him again, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just used to this," like sort of.
Used to what?
Because he grabbed like groped her, and then she was like, "You just touched me, get off me," and he just said, "Oh, I'm just used to it," and I don't know. It
makes you scrape your skin crawl, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think there was a case of things where he apparently apologised, or he'd got caught or something, and then like he still did it again like afterwards anyway, and it's just.
I imagine that these girls, women, would have just probably just frozen at the thought of that, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, it really angers you a bit, doesn't it? Or angers me.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. Well.
I think any situation where a girl doesn't feel comfortable enough to say something because it's got to that point where she feels like she can't. It's really sad.
It's yeah. It's mad that all these people knew about it as well, because it was it the Grammys or something like that, and Seth MacFarlane said
he made
it.
a joke.
Yeah.
About his.
So it was well known, wasn't it? But what can
yeah.
you? It is an awful thing.
It is. Anyway, on to lighter topics.
Film. So
I saw Blade Runner last week, and yeah, it was amazing, I thought.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. But if they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
I watched the first one like the week before, because I'd never seen it before, so I sort of went in with fresh eyes. Like, I only watched it probably because of the new one. I know it's a classic sort of in its own right, and it inspired like a generation of sci-fi, basically, or every sci-fi film since it, really.
Yeah.
So it is an important film, like whether you actually like the film or not. And while I was watching it, like, I thought it was really good, the first one, but I think its place in history is more sort of down to what all the films that came after it and were like directly inspired by it. So yeah, the new one's been coming out to really good reviews, but the box office hasn't been great, and I think that's because they've kept the pace of the original, like very much intact. Denis Villeneuve, I can't not say his name with a funny accent.
Who is he?
He's a director.
Ah.
He's the director of Blade Runner 2049.
Very nice.
I love every single one of his films that I've seen. And just like Arrival, Sicario, they're all really good films. And they're all really sort of slow-paced and beautiful. And he worked with Roger Deakins again, which is like one of the best like cinematographers that there is working. And yeah, it just makes for a really beautiful looking, really slow paced and sort of thought provoking film, as well as, you know, the fun sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is it
That was a good little review, Billy.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
From what I've gathered, and I've not watched it yet, like you've told me, but it's meant to be amazing, the cinematography and everything within the film, isn't it?
Yeah, just the way it's shot, it just draws you into the world so much, more than any other film that I can remember seeing. And I was just sat there in the cinema thinking, like, this is in a different league to other films that I've seen, and you can just sort of tell it's got a gravitas about it.
Ooh, you used the word gravitas.
I did use the word gravitas to talk about Blade Runner.
And it's also got Ryan Gosling in the absolute dish.
The dreamboat himself. There you go. That'll draw.
Faith's ears have perked up now. She is straight in on it.
on the goose.
I'm not a fan of Ryan Gosling's name.
Well,
why not?
Gosling.
Because you don't like baby geese. Is that what it is?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No,
well, now it's an animal, so you've got to like it. And Harrison Ford, he's a dish as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a slightly older dish.
He's a grumpy old dish.
I've got my feminist head on today though as well.
I know.
And,
I can tell it looks lovely on you.
And I've read. I read this last week when you went and watched it, and I brought it up to you, Billy. And we were chatting about it, and there is meant to be within Blade Runner's plot in the early days, there's a bit of exploitation of women in there, isn't there? With their
there is, especially in the first one, especially I think, because there's a scene where the replicant woman is tries to leave, but he closes the door and grabs her arm.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's that, and there's a similarly uncomfortable scene in the second one, but it's not quite the same as that, in any sense of the word. It's yeah, I think, because did you say that people have been saying about 2049 that it's objectifying women and things?
Yeah, it's basically saying, because he's got a holographic girlfriend, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Gosling.
Who hasn't these days?
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
it's basically considering them as pleasure models or something like that. So that's what I was reading, and then it was also saying the visuals of the what's this? What I'm reading now: stunning futuristic cityscapes, from pirouetting ballerinas to giant statues of naked women in heels, and saying that the women don't actually get much of a role in
much of a storyline.
I think
they're just there as a.
Joy, Ryan Gosling's girlfriend, is a hologram that's built into his house at first, and then I won't spoil anything, but they have to go on the run about halfway through. So he takes her out in this little projector thing.
Like a pet hamster when you take them out in a ball.
Kind of.
This is
But
strange.
no,
A built-in
because-
holographic girlfriend.
Okay, so in the first Blade Runner, Harrison Ford walks around a lot and mopes, and he's got no one to mope to, really. So I think that she was put there as a character who Ryan Gosling's character can sort of talk to.
Mope to.
Yeah, well, talk to when there's no one around, so it's not just silence of him walking around the building.
Yeah.
But I do think for a hologram, it sort of takes it one step further, because the first one had ideas about replicants not really being human, but they kind of were, because they had memories and things. And then it sort of takes it one step further. It's it's a hologram. It can't even touch things, but is it still human because it has memories and feelings, and even if they're just simulated feelings?
No.
Well, there you go. It poses the question. It doesn't answer it.
Girlfriend, I don't really understand.
Well-
All your house essentials, your heating, your
Yeah.
boiler,
Yeah.
your built-in girlfriend.
I was just
Your
thinking,
dishwasher.
all the way through it, I was just thinking of SpongeBob with Plankton and Karen, my computer wife. That's what I was thinking. That's what
Or
it was giving me strong SpongeBob
Humans,
vibes.
the Channel 4 documentary. You remember that?
Documentary.
It wasn't a documentary, was it? I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
It's a drama thing.
Yeah.
It's
it was,
not real.
that's what that reminds me of, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's heavily
I feel
inspired by Blade Runner.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I do find it odd that in the sort of Blade Runner universe, replicants are literally indistinguishable from humans, apart from a barcode on their skeleton. And it's why would you bother making a robot with blood and feelings and memories and stuff? But I think
It's a good question, Billy.
well, I think the in-world answer for that is that they sent them to live on off-world colonies, and they wanted to replicate humans exactly so that they knew every aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to the film,
Whoa, that was a big tangent.
it was a
Woo.
big tangent.
Are we all okay?
I think
after
it
that?
needed to be spoken about, though.
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
there is a bit of, from what I've read, there seems to be a lot of controversy about that, about women being objectified and
I
not
don't
having
think
any
it's the
sort of
film's-
role in it.
I don't think it's definitely not the film's idea to do that, though. I think it's more of a
No.
reflection of society, of how sort of women are objectified and then commodified, and then you sort of
Sold.
yeah, but it's not a real woman; it's a hologram, and that's the sort of that's the idea of the thing to sort of. It's a
Yeah.
dark dystopian future, isn't it? So it's look, you can just buy a robot instead of having a real woman
Yeah.
wife.
Well, in Japan,
You can do that now.
More or
Yeah.
less, can't
You
you?
can. You can
Not-
get
not
married
quite a
to
hologram.
anime characters.
There you go.
Oh, is that actually a thing? You can actually get married? Well,
I'm giving myself 5 years and then see ya, going to Japan.
To marry an anime character.
Yeah.
Okay. Back
I've
to the
waited long
film.
enough.
Back to the film. Basically, it's the best kind of sequel because it expands on the ideas of the first one without sort of rehashing it. It's not like Force Awakens was to Star Wars, where you just sort of go over the plot of the first one, but with new characters, and bringing the old ones back to say like to pass the torch. It's got its own ideas, and it just sort of expands on what the first film set up, and I think that's why it's a good sequel and a good film in its own right. To be fair, I wouldn't say to watch it without watching the first one because there's some parts that directly link back, but then other parts are just sort of all on their own. It's a self-contained story, and just everything about it for me, it was probably an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
Ooh,
No.
good one. TV. Right, so moving on to TV. This was my recommendation for you, Billy.
It was, and I took you up on it. Well,
I gave you some
partially.
homework.
I partially took you up on it.
Yeah, because I started watching it last year. Actually, one of my friends introduced me to it, and I wasn't sure I'd be keen on it, but it's absolutely brilliant. It's People Just Do Nothing. It's a BBC mockumentary, and it is about a pirate radio station based in London. Some of like the UK garage came from like pirate underground radio stations, so it kind of like plays on that a little bit. And you have like four main characters: DJ Beats, DJ Grinder, Steve's Chibodiji, and the other one, Decoy.
That's his name.
Yeah, it basically follows them and their trials and tribulations of running a pirate radio station, and they're a little bit dim, aren't they?
They're all very dim in different ways.
But they're absolutely brilliant. It's written by Steve Stamp. Yeah, Steve, who plays Steve's, and they've kind of like capitalised this little brand. Corrupt FM is the name of the radio station, and they actually take it to gigs and like go on tour and stuff. And Steve Stamp, he actually writes the entire series, and he's DJs when they play live, and they actually like the music they play is really good.
When I heard them say guilty, at that point on, I just knew I was going to jail.
Yeah, because they found you guilty.
Exactly.
I mean, I had tears in my eyes. Misha had to drag me out of the courtroom. I didn't know when I was going to see him again.
Stop constantly banging about yourself. It's my story.
And yeah, it's really, really well
if you're into that
written.
sort of thing. I don't think I'd like the music, but I do like the
humour.
the mockumentary. Yeah.
Yeah, it is really, really funny.
It is very much so. I really liked it. I've only watched the first few episodes of the first series, but I can get a general idea of what it's about. And I think it's really funny. It's basically a radio version of The Office, isn't it? The Office,
Yes.
but for EastEnders.
EastEnders.
East End.
Yeah.
Is Brentford in the East End? I'm pretty sure it will be.
No, I don't think it is.
Well, there
Well,
you
Brentford's in Essex, isn't it?
Mm,
There you go, a little
Brentford.
geography lesson. It's in the
Yeah.
west by southwest. There you go. Not quite the East End.
no.
You can tell what
Not
none of
quite.
us. You can tell we're all northerners.
Yeah, you can tell we've never been down south ever.
I've never been further
yeah.
than like
The Office for
Middlesbrough.
South by Southwesters. I'm pretty sure Middlesbrough's further north. Okay.
I don't know why I said that.
Is it something that you'd recommend then? Do you
Oh,
think that I'd
100%.
enjoy it?
Oh,
yeah, you'd
yeah.
enjoy it. It's easy humour. It's easy. It's like easy to follow.
Yeah, you haven't got to...
If it's
well,
me, it has to be like relatively easy to understand. Otherwise, you've lost me.
You don't have to think too much. Like, sort of if you get the whole mockumentary, like,
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
satirical
as we-
humour.
As we've already established, sometimes that passes me by.
It's not real, Danny, this one. Okay, someone sits in a room and writes it.
It's funny.
It's not a documentary, this one.
I just think the characters are really likeable.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of...
And their
I mean, I've obviously got
relationship.
no interest in the subject matter, but that's sort of part of it.
I could see
because
you
it
going
just-
to a little garage event.
A little
really.
rave.
Yeah, a little garage rave.
Haven't you, Faith, you've actually seen them live, haven't they?
Yes,
DJ.
Yeah, I saw them at Warehouse Project last year, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, like, because they're in the roles of their character when they perform and stuff. It's just so bizarre. It's like they completely get the whole, like,
They've got a lot of knowledge about the scene as well as
yeah,
like the parody in it comes out of love rather than
yeah. But
you'd probably describe it as that, because if they're obviously doing it,
I don't think if they weren't passionate about
Exactly.
it, that it'd like last on people. People
Yeah.
wouldn't care about it.
people
like,
love it. By the way, it's properly
a cult
popular.
phenomenon.
It is a bit of a cult phenomenon. Like, they have T-shirts and stuff.
At the
They have
gigs sort of
t-shirts,
things,
don't
though. At the gigs.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
and so,
Yeah, I think it's just quite popular. Like,
But that's what I
yeah.
mean. For them to be doing the music, playing the music that they're ostensibly taking the mick out of in the program, then they must have a lot of affection for it.
Yeah, I think they do.
mm.
And
What-
even though they're sort of saying that it's not a glamorous, like I
lifestyle.
think in the one that I just watched, they ran a competition and like one person phoned in and got the answer right. So they drove to his house in a van and they had
Yes.
to wait there for ages
Yeah,
in the rain.
yeah. It kind of does like parody the like underground radio thing very well.
It does.
But what's quite funny is that I think they're actually like I think they're quite posh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
One of the guys' names, DJ Beats, his real name is Hugo Chegwin. What?
Does that make you think that it's posh?
That's the only
I'm
that's
sorry,
the only
but,
evidence
like,
you've got to go on.
You are not from like the ends if your name's Hugo
The ends,
Chegwin.
the southwest,
You'd get
South by Southwest. We've already
Hugo
established.
Chegwin was living off Daddy for a while, I bet.
Well,
No, but yeah, the point is that the second series has just come out, and
Second is fourth, isn't it?
is
yeah,
it?
It's on its fourth.
Okay, can I say that again while I get it right, please?
yeah,
Yeah. It's on. Is he sure it's the fourth series?
yeah. It's in front of us there.
Oh yeah. Okay. So interesting. So anyway, the point is that the fourth series has just come out, and it kind of carries on from the stories in the past series, and just kind of gives you like a retrospective view of where the characters are at now and what's happened and the stories have developed. And
What is the sort of plot to it? Is there is it just, has it not really got a plot, or does the plot change from each show?
It is quite a traditional sort of sitcom.
I'm so
set
glad
up,
Billy
isn't it?
answered this one because he knows all of the technical terms to do with series and serials, and
It's,
I'm just like, it's
it's
good.
not very, or at least where I've watched it to, it's not serialized. It's just sort of, sometimes they'll refer back to previous things that have happened, but usually it's just
Self-contained narrative. Is that
yeah,
a thing?
that's
Boom.
well good.
Thank you.
See, I'm going a bit South by Southwest. Well good that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I like it. I thought it were good.
I thought it was good.
I thought it were good, and it made me chuckle.
Yeah. It's sort of the same as The Office in that way, in that it
Right.
just sort of every episode's, it just sort of re-establishes. You can watch the episodes in any order really, because it just sort of re-establishes the characters at the start of each
Yeah.
thing.
I like the fact that you can sort of drop in a little bit as well.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what we were saying
Mm.
about it being easy, sort of, to laugh at, because you don't have to remember
Yeah.
jokes from
Yeah.
5 series ago. Even though there's only 4 series.
I can't believe I said the ends, by the way.
The ends.
Oh,
Use the
God.
word. Use the term the ends.
Who do I think I'm... Who do
Well, I
think am?
generalised Brentford as the East End, so you're okay.
I said it was in Essex.
We're all a little bit wrong about London.
Anywho,
Anywho,
people just do nothing. It's a good one.
Is it still? Do we
That's
know
the
if it's
tagline.
still on the iPlayer?
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
You know, yeah. If they've had,
It's an iPlayer series, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I think it used to be on BBC Three when it first started,
Mhm.
didn't it? And now, obviously, that's online.
Obviously,
so
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to the man that it used to be.
Oh.
Did a little song
Aw.
there. Anyway, Faith, you've also got some music. You want
Yeah.
Music. Yeah, it's a band. I don't know if you'd call them a band.
Can I try and say it?
Go for it, mate.
Ibibio.
Well done.
Did I get it right?
Oh,
Nice
waiting for your
try.
accent. I knew what sort of accent it was going to be.
That wasn't an
Oh,
accent.
no,
I was really
please,
just saying it.
Ibibio.
Ibibio.
Let's please not get into that territory. Ibibio Sound Machine.
Ibibio Sound Machine.
Danny?
That's the second part.
Yeah.
Go on, give it a go.
Ibibio.
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 We need to make jingles
Ibibio.
out.
Ibibio.
Ibibio.
Yeah. You
So they're-
played them a little bit.
Yeah,
before,
they're
didn't
sort
you?
of like a melting pot of different cultural sounds.
You pinched that off Billy as well.
Like,
What,
Um,
melting pot? Oh yeah, it subconsciously nicked that one off you.
It's yeah.
It was interesting, I'll say.
It would. It's
okay,
not my
I
thing.
thought you'd
but
like it.
No, I
it's alright,
liked it.
it's- Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay, so
lots of fusion.
the lead lady. I don't know if she's a lead lady. Yeah, she's a lead lady. You go, girl.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll
from
call it that.
London.
Yes, but she is African. Eno, that's her name. Eno Williams. And
Eno from Ibibio.
that's where the Ibibio thing comes from, because I'm pretty sure Ibibio is a language.
Oh.
So it kind of has this African, drumbeat sort of thing.
It was quite sort of what's the
Like
word?
you just want to move. do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like beats.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Beats.
goodness.
I don't know how to talk about that sort
This
of
is how
music.
much Billy gets
Yeah.
music.
There's
Yeah.
It had like
beats.
beats.
It had like beats. They're quite repetitive rhythms.
You only heard
The
one song.
alliteration.
No, yeah,
Oh, there
I
you
thought
go.
it was good. Like, I thought it was different and something what I wouldn't have listened to otherwise. It was very, very what sounded like steel drums sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
the talking drum sort of
Yeah.
thing. Because obviously
Yeah, I appreciate-
talking drums is how they used to communicate in African villages. Isn't
Is
that right,
a
Danny?
fact?
it is
Yep.
Well, there you
that
go.
that was at one point their language.
Yeah, the first point-to-point telecommunication. I'll have
There
you
you go.
know.
So that's where they come from. That's where their name comes from.
Yeah. No,
No,
They-
Ibibio is. Sorry,
is a
Ibibio is.
language.
Yeah, it's a language of the Ibibio people in Nigeria.
yes,
So,
that's Eno is from originates from Nigeria.
Yeah.
But they also have like lots of different like cultures and backgrounds, and that's where all the different sounds come from. The bits of music they're like electronic or like heavy drum beat, or like the some of the language that they use and the lyrics and stuff. It's a very interesting sound, and I would love to go and see them live.
Yeah.
Which they're going on tour.
Yep, we've got it here. They're playing like Manchester, Leeds.
Yeah, I can't go.
Oh, yeah.
For
It
anyone
looks,
that's interested.
looks like it's sold out anyway.
In case you're going to
Manchester.
see Faith there in Manchester, then no, sorry, she can't go.
And they're playing Paris,
Ooh.
London. At
There
the
you go.
Scarlet.
Get yourself down to Paris, Faith.
23rd of October in London.
What if I could?
Hop on the
Birmingham,
train.
29th, 26th at Belgrave in Leeds.
And the 28th in Gorilla at Manchester.
Yeah,
There you go.
but I think they're sold out, aren't they? They have got an album out as well, haven't they?
They have
I'm sure,
indeed.
Yep, it was brought out on the in March of this year, and the
I don't know how you pronounce that though. Iuea.
Are you?
Iuea.
Don't ask me. I can't even pronounce it. Ibibio.
Give me a reason is a good song.
Oh,
Well-
there you go. That's a recommendation.
Yeah.
If nothing else is.
yeah we haven't listened to it properly, have we? But yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
liked it.
I liked what I heard. Yeah, I might give
I
it another
liked what I
listen.
heard.
I liked what I heard so far.
Billie Eilish 2017.
There you go.
Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back again next week, so make sure you tune in. See you later. Bye.